Welcome back to Faster and Louder. Today, I think I broke something. So, I've been in the process of getting my 73 Javelin AMX to kind of be like my daily driver at this point. I do have another vehicle, but my wife uses the other vehicle most of the time. So I've been trying to get my Javelin to the point where I can just reliably use it like a couple times out of the week. And so far, it's honestly been pretty good. But today I was going to just do some routine maintenance, like preventative. And I flushed the radiator, like the whole coolant system, twice, put in brand new coolant and everything. And I did an oil change, and I was taking the car out for a test drive. And I wish that I had this on video, but I didn't. I was just out test driving. And I got everything all nice and up to temperature and stuff, drove it around, just keep an eye on the water temp and the oil pressure and all that, you know, just to see how it was. Everything was great. And I got about a quarter mile away from my house, and I was getting back onto like the main road here that goes by my house kind of, and I just stomped on it, and I broke the tires loose and everything, and I went to go like to shift into second, and I pushed my foot down on the clutch pedal, and like it got caught or something. I'm not entirely sure what has happened just yet, but it's like the pedal went all the way down and it wouldn't come back. So it's like I was just stuck with the transmission like disengaged. So I really don't know what's going on yet. That's what I'm doing right now. I have the car here. It's nighttime. I don't have a garage, so this is just kind of how it's been for like the last 6 or 8 months doing anything on my car. So anyways, we're going to dig into that. I'm just going to start taking stuff apart. I already did there's like an adjustable rod that goes from the linkage on, like basically the clutch linkage to the clutch fork pivot here. And I took this out just to make sure that the pedal was like moving properly and everything. And it is. So it's definitely not anything in a clutch linkage. So at this point, I need to drop the transmission down completely. I do have a theory though. My theory is that I overextended the travel of the throwout bearing, and it either like damaged the pressure plate, like the diaphragm fingers, like where the throwout bearing pushes up against. I think it had something to do with that. I'm not entirely sure, but we're gonna find out here pretty soon. So come along with me and, you know, just live through this misery with me. So I was able to get this business out of there. This is a really nice setup, the way that this was done. It's all custom put together. I bought an X-pipe off of like Amazon, Dynamax bullet mufflers, like the longer ones. And then the rest of it is just 2.5-inch piping that was done at a local shop. Oh, and then my Trans Am turn downs for the side exits. But it's really nice because I only have the 3 bolts on the header flanges on each side, and then there's just 2 bolts holding it up on the back with these hangers right here. So this is really easy to get out of the way. I got my O2 sensor out of the way for my AFR gauge because that's just gonna definitely get in the way. Let's see what else I did over here. I took the starter out over there. I don't know if you can see it. Took that out. I got some just random stuff loose here and there. The next thing I need to do is actually get the console out so I can get the shifter off. The way that I did it, it's kind of custom also, and it's sort of a pain to get the shifter handle off. So I'm kind of just not wanting to do that. And then what I'm going to do with the drive shaft is just drop the back at the differential off over there, and then that way we can just drop the transmission with the drive shaft still in there. The way this went in there was really weird. Like I had to put the bell housing in there first and then put the transmission in there. It's kind of just like a really weird way of actually getting everything together, but that's the only way that we could actually get it to work. So I'm probably going to reverse that process by just taking the actual transmission off of the bell housing and then just go from there. But yeah, it's pretty much ready to go. I think like another hour of work between me and my brother, we can probably have this thing out. I was thinking I might kind of just try to see if I can peek in that tiny little clutch fork boot thing there and see if I can just see anything. I doubt that I'll be able to see anything, but it would be nice to just be able to tell if there's something really obvious maybe, and just like put it back together as as a last ditch effort to trying to fix it before taking the whole thing apart. You know what I mean? So I'm actually gonna look at that first really quick, but I really have no high hopes on that fixing it. Check, check, chickadee, check, check, check. Ooh, I'll put that as intro. Yeah. Okay, so I got Randy here. We're gonna get started on stuff. I am just about ready to drop the back of the drive shaft down. There's a little doohickey that holds onto one side of the Z-bar for the clutch linkage, so I got that off. So yeah, it's pretty much... Oh, and I loosened some of the transmission bolts already too, so it's pretty much just the drive shaft and the cross member, and it's ready to come down already, so that's good. Okay. Already. So we got the transmission down. When we're pulling it out, the throwout bearing was like off the clutch fork, but that doesn't really mean anything because we weren't able to like perfectly, you know, pull it back or anything. But there's no damage that I can see to any of the fingers, and from what I can tell, the pilot bearing, pilot bushing looks like it's okay. I think maybe the only thing that could have happened is the throwout bearing. Maybe there's too much slop going on in here, and it allowed the throwout bearing to like get cockeyed or kind of like fall off one of the ears of this clutch fork or something. So I may kind of try to like determine whether this throwout bearing is actually like, you know, properly compatible with this clutch fork, and maybe look into replacing this clutch fork or something while I have it apart. So yeah, the investigation continues. Okay, so after we found that on the input shaft retainer, I actually noticed this before, but I was like, well, maybe it's just a manufacturing defect or something. I don't know if it's actually like focusing properly or not, but there's like this huge spot where it's like smushed down and got some weird wear on it. I'm thinking what happened is one of these tabs fell off the actual clutch fork, and it got weirdly cockeyed in there, and that was spinning and just caught and just kind of caused a little bit of damage and wasn't allowing this to slide back on the input shaft retainer. And there's no way that it's going to smoothly move along that when there's like that huge gouge in there. So now I'm kind of facing the dilemma of, should I try to figure out why this came off? You know, like do I need to get like a new clutch fork and just get a new input shaft retainer and call it good, or is it beefier transmission time? I don't really have the money to be throwing down on a transmission right now, but sometimes it'd be like that, so I'm gonna have to make some decisions here. I'm really grateful, really thankful that T5s are like the lightest possible overdrive manual transmission you can get. They're really small. I just dragged this from underneath my car and threw it up here on the bench. Made a big old mess with some transmission fluid earlier, but I did get the bearing retainer off. This is the piece that has the big chunk on it. I took that out, took it off. There's a seal that's in here. I'm not going to worry about that though, because the one that I bought to replace it already has one with it. So I'm just going to leave that one in its home right there. I took the bearing race off and the bolts that go into the case. So I have that off right now. Right now there's like the first gear synchro, I believe it is, and like another bearing in there. I'm just going to leave those in there so I don't lose it. I have the input shaft laying right here amongst a bunch of other crap. I put some new needle bearings in there. I originally bought some needle bearings for when I did this before, and just decided not to replace them for some reason. I think that these like came after I was like ready to assemble everything else, so I was just like, screw it, the ones that are in there, fine. And they probably are fine, but these are brand new now, little bearings that sit inside there. You can use some wheel bearing grease to kind of just keep them in place. And I put some grease on the bearing again here for the input shaft. Other than that, I think I'm going to paint this. This is my transmission mount, and it's kind of just been unpainted, and you can see there's already a little bit of surface rust going on, so I'm just going to paint that and make sure it doesn't advance any further than that. I can't remember if I showed this already or not. I've just been doing a lot of different stuff in here. But I did take the old clutch fork off, and you can kind of see I painted this black. I think it was just bare metal when I got it, and I painted it just to try to, you know, protect it, do whatever. But I'm kind of glad that I did, because you can see where a lot of the wear was, and you can see where the throwout bearing was rubbing on the fork. Like, something was going on here. And once I got the replacement, I noticed that on the back here, there's kind of like indentations for the clips to actually kind of hang on and keep it in place. And this throwout bearing is like on here pretty solid. Like, I can push it with my finger and it's not going anywhere. This one take a little bit of juggling. Okay, so this is the old clutch fork, and this one I can just barely move it and the throwout bearing comes right off. So I think that I mean, as I was kind of theorizing before, I think that there's a little bit too much motion on a clutch fork to begin with. So this is getting pushed, and you know, just a little bit of geometry to kind of pull this is like, you know, this, look how easily this wiggles. Like, it's just on there really floppy. If I do the same thing for this, it doesn't move nearly as much. I mean, granted, you're pretty much never going to have this kind of motion when it's actually all assembled, but still, like this, I can see how, you know, something being a little off or wonky, like this would just, it's going to go all over the place. So I do think the clutch fork was probably like a good, pretty big factor in why things failed. But anyways, I'm basically just waiting for the new bearing retainer. So I'm gonna get that. Once that's all here, I can just reassemble everything, put it all back on the transmission, and then I can get some help over here again and throw it back in the car, and hopefully everything is good. I'm kind of just trying to make this live a little bit longer. I still have plans of upgrading this transmission, but this is like a difference of $100 compared to like $1,700. And really, $1,700 for a pretty well-built T5 is not that bad. It's hard to find transmissions that can hold over like 500 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque for that much money, especially in the world of T5s, which are not very strong to begin with.
Hey guys, it's Randy. I'm here with Dan. Dan is messing with the clutch fork and the spring. Here, somewhere in there. Oh, we got the transmission on the counter in here. Messy counter now because he spilled it. You know what's new. So we're gonna be getting down to the nitty-gritty of putting it in here pretty soon. So
just relaxing here under this Javelin, thinking about taking a nap really quick. I just put the new clutch fork in there, like Randy was saying. I have a brand new spring. The spring is $10, ridiculous. Got that in there, got the new throwout bearing. Everything is kind of greased up as it should be, and it's in place. So now it's just a matter of getting the transmission under here and kind of trying to slide it in here without messing with this throwout bearing very much and whatnot. So we're gonna get it over here, kind of just on the side, and then we're probably gonna have to put like the drive shaft in the back to keep it from leaking all over the place, because I already did that once on my workbench in there. So we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna get this up here, and then I have the bolts. We're kind of just gonna try to like get them finger started or whatever. The reason why I have the bell housing here in the first place is because the first time we did this, we ran into a lot of issues of like trying to get everything in here all at once. And I think that this is kind of just an issue with, I mean, it seems like a lot of manual transmissions for some reason are like this. I don't really know why, but like maybe it's just a T5 thing. But basically you get everything in here with the bell housing, and then you can kind of like guide the transmission in here as you need to, and get everything all lined up. But I'm a little bit concerned because we're gonna still need to try to like line up the splines enough to get it to slide in there. So I'll probably just make sure it's in neutral, or try to, so it can at least move to where it needs to be, and get it all bolted up. So light. Okay, Randy and I have gone through some trouble here with this, so this may be useful information if you are planning on doing a T5 swap, or if you've already done one even. So there... Do you hear that dog? I was like, what the hell is that? Anyways, this clutch fork I think is technically correct, but it has these little locating pins on the ends of the, I guess you call it fingers on the fork. And these are nice because it actually holds your throwout bearing still. And I think this probably works totally fine with like a CJ7, which is what it's designed for. But you need a little bit more play. Like the old style, I'm assuming, clutch fork that I have, with the smooth fingers on it without the locator pins, I think that it allows your throwout bearing to kind of just move a little bit more, and it allows it to line up properly with your clutch linkage. I measured these, and everything looks identical. Thanks, Randy. So everything is identical on that, and I have no idea why it makes a difference, but basically with this replacement one that I have, the pivot where the clutch linkage actually attaches into, it's like an inch too far in. So with the old one, with the smooth tips, for some reason, even with the new throwout bearing that we got, it's actually out just like that half inch or an inch or whatever. So the clutch linkage is going straight, and it's not like cockeyed or anything like that. So that was a really weird problem, and the new throwout bearing looks better anyways. On the old one, you can see like where the damage was, and this ridge right here, it comes up maybe like, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or something really small, but the new one, it comes up quite a bit. It comes up like 1/4 of an inch. So even if it were to slide a little bit, like actually on the clutch fork, it wouldn't allow it to like come off completely because of that raised piece here. So I don't know, that's just stuff that I found that is different, and I think that we're good to go now. We got the transmission back in the car for a second time. We're finally bolting stuff up, so hopefully we will be good from this point forward. Everything seems to be all right. We already did the clutch adjustment and stuff too. Looks good. Okay. Today has been pretty productive. We got pretty much everything taken care of. The starter is in, it's connected back up and everything. Drive shaft is back up. I did a couple other small things. The only thing that's not put back together is the header, or like the rest of the exhaust, because one of the collector gaskets was like blown out on the passenger side. So I have new ones coming. I didn't know Remflex makes those too, so that's good. I love that brand. But yeah, tomorrow morning I'll probably get this back together completely, and then I can start it up. I already know that the clutch feels better. It has pretty good clutch feel. It doesn't travel quite as far, but I kind of knew it would. I set up the gap between the clutch rod and the actual fork a little bit better, so the engagement is a little bit lower. I should say disengagement is a little bit lower. I think that it's completely disconnecting or completely disengaging where I have it right here, but I may end up either adjusting the stopper that I have on there, as you can see right here, or just completely take it off. I'm not entirely sure yet, but this is really nice to prevent me from overextending it. I just got everything back together. I started it up, it was making a weird noise. I don't know what the heck it is. I made a couple changes while it was down. Like I changed the temperature sensor, so I had the lower temperature switch now for the fans. I did like the coolant flush and everything, so that could have something to do with it. I have no idea. It's just doing weird stuff, but I'm gonna take it out for a drive. I'm just kind of letting it warm up right now, and I'm gonna see if all my gears are currently working and all that good stuff. I'm in reverse. I have the clutch down. It's not moving, so that's good. Give me a little bit of a divot for myself here. Here we go. So far, so good. I definitely need to adjust my pedal stopper. Oh, I'm running into my garbage cans. If you're wondering how the quarter panels get so dented, that's how you do it. You get these hips stuck on stuff. I'm like afraid to push a clutch down really far, so I don't really know if I'm pushing down enough. I'm not used to not having my clutch stopper set. So far it seems to be okay though. God, man, when I started up and it started making that weird whining sound, it scared the crap out of me. I don't know if like something's going on with my power steering again or what the deal is. I do know that I've had issues a lot with the power steering. I think it's just a cheap like O'Reilly's brand that I keep buying. I'm just gonna have to suck it up and get a nice power steering pump, I think, because these do not last long, man. I'm like averaging something like a month and a half, pretty much. I've had like 2 just outright fail me, basically, and then another one. I think this is my 3rd one, and I've only really had it on the road for like 6 months. Okay, so initial assessment, everything seems okay. I really do want to get my pedal stopper set up. I don't like the fact that I could overextend the clutch fork. That just scares me after what happened. So I'm just being extra careful. But so far everything seems to be pretty good. Right now my pedal stopper is on there, but it's just adjusted down like as far back as it can go. So I get pretty much full travel. Everything seems to be good. I think what the noise may have been that I was hearing, it could have just been coolant like on one of my belts or something. It made it squeal kind of weird. As good as ever. Now my fan comes on. Oh, what is my temperature right now? I changed my fans. This would be a good time to see if it's working. Yeah, it looks like it's rated at 180, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. Anyways, yeah, so the T10 front bearing retainer has like a total travel of something like 3 3/8 inches, and I measured the T5 front bearing retainer, and it's 2 3/4. Oh, now it's coming back on. So anyways, like the T10 stuff is like really, it's a little bit longer. So like you have with these pedals and everything, the geometry, it allows it to be just a little bit, go a little bit further than you probably want it to go. I need to check my connection, see if this thing is going crazy. All right, sorry about that. A little bit of a distraction there. I was trying to explain something, but my fan was just going haywire. It turns out that it was a temperature switch. It just failed, like the first time it ever kicked on, pretty much. So, don't really know why it did that, other than it was probably just a faulty part, but I had my old one still, so I just threw it back on there, and everything's good. So what I was talking about was the travel of that front bearing retainer. So the clutch linkage and the pedal and all that has a geometry set up for a T10 transmission, and that front bearing retainer has 3 3/8 inches thereabouts travel or room for travel on it, and then the T5 one only has 2 3/4 inch space for travel on it. So you're using that pedal and the linkage and everything, assuming that you have more travel available for the throwout bearing. So if you don't set it up, or you don't have a stopper or something like that, it's very plausible that you can actually push the throwout bearing too far along that shaft on the bearing retainer. So that's why I have a pedal stop on there and everything. I think it's a pretty simple solution. You could probably make one at home if you wanted to. It's not like super crazy difficult or anything like that. All of that being said, I have driven the car for about a week or so now at this point, and everything's good. I was talking about like a weird noise that I was hearing. It was just kind of like a high-pitched whining sound, like when I first turned on the engine, and had me really concerned. I thought maybe something was out of adjustment or something, but I think it was just like all the lubricating like pieces had to kind of just spin and get nice and comfortable in there. So I think everything's good. Everything's like well worn in, hopefully not worn too much. I think I'll finally be good here for a little bit, but I'm sure that I'll have more to talk about pretty soon. This car is just it's pretty much a never-ending project. It just never really ends, which is fine, because I pretty much expected that from the get-go. But thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please like the video, leave a comment. Please consider subscribing also. That's it. Until next time. Later, guys.